What is up everyone? Welcome back to Motobeto82. Today's video is going to cover the topic of how to get started riding a motorcycle. Recently I had a coworker ask me what he needs to do to get started riding a bike. I have had some people ask me similar questions in the past, and it's always difficult to provide a simple answer because there are many things that need to be considered, and what might be the right answer for a particular individual might be the complete opposite for another. So I'm going to address some of these things you should consider based on my personal experience. Of course, these are my opinions and it's more in line with my experiences and what I went through, I guess, starting off. I know it can be a little intimidating when considering if you should buy a motorcycle or not. That's perfectly natural, but the best thing to do is to go for it and not really think about it too much. Don't let that fear take over. It's not good to ride in fear, as it will cause you to make some crucial mistakes. You will most likely have a person trying to talk you out of it because motorcycles are so dangerous. Everyone says that, which there's truth to that, but then again, anything can be potentially dangerous. It's just how prepared you're going to be for it, and really your temperament is the most important thing here, and being responsible. But hey, that's your own deal there, and I guess my point is, don't be scared. I suppose the first question you have to answer for yourself is, what type of riding do I want to do? Answering this question will help you narrow down some of the other things that you need to consider. Do you want to ride on the road? Do you want to ride off-road? Or do you want a motorcycle that can do both? Really think about what kind of use you want to get out of your motorcycle. And trust me, this is going to change with time. You will want to experience different types of motorcycles if you like riding. Some people start riding and then end up deciding that it's not for them. So let's start with motorcycles you can ride on the road. Many people will recommend you to start with a motorcycle that has a low engine displacement or engine size, mainly because the power and torque on those bikes are really low, and the throttle response is not as aggressive. Plus, since the engine is smaller, these bikes usually are lower in weight, and that makes it a little bit easier to maneuver. Although this is true, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should start on a scooter and then work your way up to a 250, then a 300, then a 600, and so on and so on. I started on a Suzuki GSX-R 600, and I did not have any problems at all whatsoever. Actually, I'm glad that I started with a 600, because I was debating to get a Ninja 300 when I was starting, which was what I guess some of the feedback I got from some people, which wasn't bad advice, but that just doesn't apply to everyone, because once you learn how to ride and you get the feel for things, you're quickly gonna outgrow those smaller bikes. Although I do have my WR250R and I love it, but this bike is awesome off-road. But anyway, I've digressed. So engine size is really going to come down to what you're comfortable with, and also ask yourself, do I really need all that power on the road? I'm perfectly happy with my 600, and I honestly will never need more than that for riding on the streets. Another thing that you need to consider is motorcycles' riding position. Most have an upright seating position, but if you decide to go with a sportier bike, like a sports bike or a super sport, it's most likely gonna have a forward-leaning seating position, when which is not the most comfortable position to be in for long periods of time. Rider fatigue sets in if you take the sports bikes for long rides. So sports bikes do not make the best daily riders or commuter bikes. Not to say that it can't be done, because I do it, but it's not the most comfortable option. A naked bike, cruiser, scooter, or even a touring bike are more comfortable options. Of course, a touring bike and a cruiser are better options for longer distances, since they have storage options and wind deflecting features. Well, in most cases they do. If you want to only ride off-road, then going with an enduro or a motocross bike will be a good option. These bikes usually have better suspension and are torqueier, so you have to be careful with the throttle. The sitting position is upright, but most aren't very comfortable to ride for the most part, mostly because the seats are very narrow and usually hard. Plus, since they are very torquey, all that pulling on your body tends to create rider fatigue a little bit faster. These bikes are not street legal. They usually don't come with headlights, tail lights, blinkers, and so on. You can actually make these bikes street legal though. It's a process. You actually have to take your title to a courthouse, get the title changed, make some changes to your bike to make it street legal, like adding all the safety lights. You have to change the stator to create more power in most cases. You have to change the wheels, the rims, tires. You have to upgrade the brakes, and so on and so forth. So it's quite a process to make these bikes street legal. It's a pain in the ass, but you're gonna have one sweet bike at the end. And these particular bikes, they call them super sports. Anyway, I've digressed again. If you want to get the best of both worlds and have a motorcycle that is street legal and can also hold its own off-road, then go with a dual sport. Like all other bikes, they come in various engine sizes. They have the upright seating position and have special tires that provide grip on both the pavement and the dirt. These bikes have extra ground clearance and have longer travel suspensions. These bikes get large enough to be classified as adventure touring bikes. So there are tons of options when it comes to picking a motorcycle. That's why it is very important to really know what kind of use you're gonna want. That way you can also make the best choice. Another thing to consider with your bike is the maintenance cycles. Maintenance can be cheap, or it could be expensive. It could be the cycles can be very close together, or they can be a little bit more spread out. It kind of just depends on the type of bike. Usually the European bikes, in most cases, the maintenance is going to be a little bit more expensive. If something goes wrong and you have to take it to a dealership or to a mechanic, it's going to be a little bit pricier than the Japanese bikes. The Japanese bikes, in most cases, not all, are more reliable, and the parts are easy to come by, and maintenance is not nearly as expensive as the European bikes. Then also the type of bike that you have will also dictate the maintenance. So for example, my WR250R, like, you don't have to do like valve checks till like 22,000 miles. The only thing you really need to do to this bike honestly is change the oil and clean out the air filter, and every 7,500 miles, like change the spark plug. And that's really it for the maintenance. But you know, different bikes require different maintenance cycles. So if you get like a two-stroke, like an enduro or a motocross bike, you're gonna have to be changing the oil a lot sooner in between those cycles. You might even have to do like a upper rebuild every. I don't own one, so I'm not sure how it is, but maybe every 30 hours. I'm really not sure. I'm guessing, but you have to replace the upper, and you constantly have to change the air filter, at least clean it at the very least. So keep that in mind. The maintenance cycles, they vary from the brands of the bikes and the different types of bikes. So it's just something else to consider. So okay, so now you know what kind of bike you want. Now what? What is the best way to purchase one? Well, that kind of depends a lot on your budget. So if money is not a barrier, then just go to the dealership and buy you a brand new one. Why mess around? But for the rest of us, there's several different options to choose from when it comes to purchasing a bike. So you can go to dealerships and to different motorcycle shops. Usually they have a used inventory, but in most cases they're going to be asking the top dollar for those bikes. So you might get a fair price. You might even pay more than what the value is. So you gotta be careful there. You can also go online. There's a lot of places that you can buy from online. So there's like Facebook Market, there's OfferUp, Craigslist, Cycle Trader, eBay, etc., etc. There's people selling motorcycles everywhere online. So as far as when it comes to buying a motorcycle online, you just have to be really careful, because there's a lot of people that run all kinds of scams. And also you got to make sure that you're getting a good bike. Take your time. Don't automatically go for the first thing you see. Like, it took me about almost 4 months for me to find my GSXR. I found it at a great price. The guy obviously was maintaining it correctly, and basically it was garage kept. Took very good care of it. I got a very good deal out of it. But I also took my friend that had been riding for a long time, so he kind of checked it out for me and verified that everything is good. So that's what I will recommend if you decide to go with one of the online, or even if you go to the dealership. Take someone with you that knows about motorcycles. That way they can take a look at it and see in what condition it is, and you can tell right off the bat if they take care of it or not. Obviously you don't want to buy a motorcycle that's been mistreated, because it's most likely hasn't been maintained well, and it's going to give you some issues down the line. Once again, a lot of people run scams, so be careful with that. There are too many things to cover on the topic as far as what types of things you should look for, because the devil's in the details. Maybe I'll make a separate video at another time to kind of pinpoint the things that you should focus on if you don't have someone that can go with you. But like I said, it's going to take too much time to go through everything, so maybe it's a video I'll make at a different time. Okay, so you go with your buddy, you look at the bike, He gives you the thumbs up, you pull the trigger and buy the bike. Now what? Well, hopefully you thought ahead of time and you have a truck and maybe a trailer. That way you can transport the bike. At the very minimum, hopefully your buddy can ride it back to your place. Then the next thing I would recommend for you to consider is to invest some money in protective gear. At the very minimum, a good helmet that is DOT or Snell certified. If you can get a jacket and some pants with CE armor, a good pair of gloves, a good pair of boots, then you're good to go. If you want to go over and beyond, get yourself a neck brace. But if you want to be an overachiever, get yourself an inflatable vest. You can never be too safe out there, guys. But I know that these things aren't cheap, and it's not something that you, or at least I didn't, kind of think about whenever you're buying your bike. It's something that you think about afterwards. But like I said, at the very minimum, get you a good helmet. It's better be safe than sorry. And finally, work on getting yourself being legal. Meaning that take your motorcycle safety basic rider's course, apply for your Class M driver's license, and get insurance for your motorcycle. I cannot recommend enough the motorcycle safety course, especially if you have zero riding experience. That class is very valuable, plus you get a discount on your insurance if you complete it and pass the written test. So there's a lot of value in that class. If you don't take it, you'll have to take the written test at the DPS, and then you're going to have an officer follow you while you're riding your bike, and you have to demonstrate that you can operate a motorcycle. So if you take that class and you do this in the class, there's obviously going to be an instructor. He's going to see if you can operate the bike or not. He's going to give you a written test. And when I took it, it was a great experience. The guys, and there's a couple girls as well that I took it with, they're awesome. It was a 2-day thing, and it was a great refresher. 'Cause I grew up riding 4-wheelers and dirt bikes, so I kind of already had some experience, but I never really ridden on the road. So it was nice to kind of get a refresher as far as going over all the safety aspects of the bikes. So once again, it's a valuable class to take. Okay, guys, I know I kind of just briefly touched on some things. Maybe in the future I'll make more videos on the subject. Kind of depends on how many people actually watch this video and care. But like I mentioned, I've had some people ask me, and I just recently had my coworker ask, so I thought I'd make a video going over briefly what I thought you need to consider. But anyway, guys, please like, share, and subscribe, and take it easy. Peace.